SoFi stock initially skyrocketed this year. However, more recently, in recent months, the stock has been falling pretty hard. And a lot of you have left me comments asking for my updated thoughts on it and whether I'll be buying any more shares myself on the dip. Well, in today's video, I'm not only going to answer that, but I'm also going to cover some more recent news surrounding SoFi stock, including, by the way, the fact that some insiders have been selling a ton of the stock. However, there's also one insider, in my opinion, the biggest insider, the CEO, who's been buying a ton of SoFi stock. So I'll give you my thoughts on all of that. Plus, SoFi just released their third quarter earnings a couple weeks ago, so I'm going to give you my updated thoughts on their performance and let you know how they're doing, and just kind of talk about the entire stock in general, just a big update on SoFi. So I hope you enjoy the video. It's going to be a fun one. Let's just go ahead and jump straight into it. All right, now let's start by just pulling up this stock chart here to see what's been going on. So as I mentioned, the stock initially soared up until about August and is still up around 60% year to date, even after the recent dip. But speaking of which, the stock completely reversed course in recent months, losing almost a quarter of its entire value in August alone. Then it lost another 8%, almost 8% in September, and more than 5% again in October. And from the top, SoFi has now crashed from a high of almost $30 a share all the way down to just around $7 today. That's a crash of around 75%, about 3/4 of its entire value lost. But again, we're more interested in the recent activity of the stock for this video. So what's been going on here? Well, the recent dip, in my opinion, was mostly caused by a much needed correction after skyrocketing by so much. However, even this month here in November, we saw a few insiders selling the stock as well, including the chief marketing officer who sold over $1 million, the SoFi Bank president who sold over $1.2 million, and the chief risk officer who sold over $1.7 million, all of which took place around the start of this month. And in fact, they had actually sold even more of the stock a few months back as well. But how big of a concern is this really, and how much attention should we be giving it as investors? Personally, I say not much. I mean, I know that it did make a lot of headlines in the news recently, but I feel that purchases is always going to be the more important metric to look at, since sales can really happen for a ton of different reasons. I mean, sometimes these insiders or the management team are even rewarded stock just for achieving better performance. So they may not actually care about owning it long term as much as some of us outside investors do. And even if they do really care about holding it long term, or they purchase the stock themselves, sometimes they might just want to sell some of it for financing something else. I mean, they might want to purchase a house, or maybe they want to buy some other stock or make some other type of investment, or maybe they're just a short-term minded trader. You know, not everyone is going to be a long-term investor like me or maybe you. Sometimes people like to trade in and out of stocks, or maybe they're just worried about economic concerns. Maybe they think that a recession is coming and they just want to take that money out of the stock and just hold it in a savings account. I mean, there's so many reasons that don't necessarily have to tie to the company's performance itself. However, purchases, on the other hand, well, there's only really one reason why you'd be buying a stock, and that's because you think that the stock price is going to go up over time in the future. You think the company is undervalued right now for their solid performance. You think they'll perform better in the future, so you're buying the stock and you think you're going to make a profit on it. And in fact, when you look at the biggest leader of the entire company, well, he's been buying the stock now in heavy amounts for years. And even more recently than the sellers too, as SoFi CEO Anthony Noto purchased around $300,000 worth of the stock, while the CFO also purchased over $100,000 as well, again, more recently than the sellers. Now, obviously, that's not as large of purchases as compared to what the sellers were selling, But if you look at Noto's history, well, he's been buying millions upon millions upon millions of dollars worth of SoFi stock in just the past couple years alone. In fact, I can't even fit all the purchases on a single page here. And this is just purchases, by the way. If you include options and rewards, it gets even larger. But yeah, overall, this CEO has just been extremely bullish on his company. And that's something that I love to see in a company that I'm investing in myself, which in the case of SoFi, I see it all the time, where Anthony goes on all of these interviews and he talks about how much they're disrupting the massive financial sector that is worth trillions of dollars. For example, in the second quarter, he talked about how they were stealing so much market share from larger banks as more customers flock to their all-in-one platform that offers pretty much any type of financial service you need. And it's usually with zero fees and better interest rates too. And it's been by so much that SoFi has been adding over $2 billion of deposits every single quarter since gaining their bank license, which again, they're stealing this market share directly from larger banks. And even in this most recent third quarter, he talked about student loans no longer being the biggest growth driver for them, as their technology platform, along with financial services, which are non-lending, are already accounting for more than 67% of their sales growth, which will likely drive up their margins higher over time too, because of the software-like margins that you would typically get from that. So I'm not at all worried about the selling. I actually feel like I'd rather follow the CEO here, who's been buying the stock hand over fist. But before we go into my overall opinion and conclusion and how I feel about the stock's current valuation and what I'm doing myself, let's just quickly cover those third quarter earnings, because they just reported them recently and the stock has actually been kind of dipping a little even more since then. And I actually feel like the report was very strong and I liked everything I saw. So this may be setting up for a buying opportunity here in the stock. Let's take a closer look. Well, not only does SoFi consistently beat estimates every quarter because of how much the market really seems to always be underestimating them, but once again, they beat sales by 3% and EPS by a monstrous 65% as well. Year over year, this was also 27% growth on revenue, while more than doubling their adjusted EBITDA, both of which, by the way, hit new record highs as well. They also added another 700,000 plus new members in just a single quarter alone, which was also a new record for the company, by the way. And it registered growth of nearly 50% year over year, bringing their total now to nearly 7 million members. And all of those members, by the way, are also consistently using more products too, as they added another 1 million plus new products, bringing the total now to above 10 million, which was also growth of 45% year over year. And remember when I mentioned all the business that they're stealing from big banks? Well, that too continued in the third quarter as they added another almost $3 billion worth of deposits, which not only provides SoFi with lower cost funding for their own loan products, but it also gives them more net interest income by allowing them to hold the deposits longer on their balance sheet as opposed to selling them off to third parties like they used to do before they gained an actual bank license. So overall, they've just been on fire lately, and it also shows in their guidance as they not only raised it again, but they also reaffirmed that they will reach GAAP profitability by the end of this year in the fourth quarter too, which should really start to help their valuation going forward. In fact, you can already see some of that as their forward PE ratio last quarter was close to 800, but has now fallen all the way down to less than 60, and their PS ratio is still pretty decent at around 3 considering the growth too. Again though, the main focus I think with SoFi going forward is going to be on profitability as they start to ramp up and scale up and also benefit from some of the software-like margins from certain parts of their business. I think that's where you're going to start to see the value of SoFi in the future, that forward PE ratio really coming down and this really turning into just a great value play over the long term. However, the kind of cool thing that I like about SoFi is that I think of them as this like financial company with a lot of value, and they are technically a bank now after getting a bank license as well. But they also benefit from tech-like growth. I mean, so they truly are like a fintech in every definition of the term. And that's what really excites me about SoFi. I actually just started using SoFi myself recently because I'm building up our community portfolio on there. It's like this new public portfolio that I'm creating. And I chose SoFi to build it on that platform. And I started using some of the other features on there too. And the whole platform is just so cool. It's got all the like financial services that you would ever really need, and it's got it all in one place, and it's all very simplified and streamlined. I think it's a great product. I could see a lot of people really using it more and more in the future. So I have really high hopes for SoFi. By the way, if you guys ever want to try SoFi, I will put my referral code down below. You don't have to use it, but if you do, you get $25 worth of stock, and I get some bonuses too. But again, you don't have to use it. I'll put it there in case you want it. But anyway, besides the point, when it comes to the stock, I do own the stock myself. I actually built out a position in my personal portfolio. However, I don't own it yet in the public community portfolio. So I will be buying it in the coming weeks and adding it to that portfolio too, which by the way, I post all the trades that I make in that portfolio over on Discord. You can get access to Discord through Patreon or the YouTube join button down below. I also will be posting update videos on YouTube though, so you won't miss the overall updates either. But if you want to see the up-to-date trades, they will be on Discord. But yeah, to answer the question, will I be buying SoFi stock? I will be buying it in some shape or form. Again, I own it in my personal portfolio. I'm going to add it to the public portfolio too. So it's a stock that I really like. I have high hopes for it long term, and I'm very bullish on it. But that's just my opinion. Obviously, a recession, I think, would drag it down lower. But I just think right now it does look pretty attractive if I'm thinking long term. So I will be buying the stock. I'd love to hear what you all have to say, though. Do you own SoFi stock? Have you ever thought about it? Do you agree or disagree with anything I said today? I'd love to hear your thoughts down below in the comment section. Thanks again for stopping by, my friends. Thank you for all the support. I hope you enjoyed the video. Now we'll catch you in the next one. All right, take care, everybody. Bye-bye.